we go along here that way. Okay, great. Well, it's good to see everybody again, and some new faces here too. I'm going to do much less of the talking today, and Yushu is going to do a lot more, because our biggest change this year is that we are changing from Cypress to Prairie States. From your perspective, in terms of plan design and things like that, very little is changing. It's just going to be that the insurance carrier itself is changing, but there's some really nice enhancements that are coming with the change, really no negatives. So overall this year, just as we look high level, we're going to be, there's going to be a 13% increase on the plan this year. So I know it's certainly more than it was last year, but it was a little bit higher year for us overall too. So last year, if you guys remember, you actually had a little bit of a decrease, right? So if we look where we are over the course of 2 years, you know, we're running pretty average overall. But, you know, it's really important for you guys to know that your leadership team, when they were trying to figure this out, you know, usually when we see a bigger increase like this, a lot of companies are trying to say, okay, well, how can we raise the deductible then for people and cut these other things out that we can get the cost down? Because you have to remember, they pay 80% of the premium for you guys, right? So they're also getting a 13% increase on everything that they're spending, but they didn't want to do that to you because they care about you. They want to make sure that you guys have access to high quality providers and that you have a really rich benefit design, which you do. If you look at what's out there today compared to what you guys have it so good. And I'll talk about some of that once we get the health insurance slide up. With the HSA, no changes to the contribution there. So if you're on that plan design, that's going to remain exactly as it is. The flexible spending account is going to be moving also from Cypress to Prairie States, but Misha will talk about that a little bit. Dental, vision, life, all life, the voluntary short-term disability, and then the employer-paid long-term disability, there's no change to that whatsoever. So I really do want to spend more time today talking about the changes that are going to be coming with Prairie States than reviewing everything that I told you guys about last year. So a couple things with that. When you go out on Summit, there is actually a document out there, or actually we just have the links, right? Not the document. But you can actually click on a whole series of links that are out there to get a really detailed understanding of each and every benefit that is offered. So lucky you, you get to hear me present and see me present yet again, but they're totally customized to you guys. It's not a stock thing. So it's going to be very similar to the PowerPoint you see here with an explanation of how the plans work. So if I'm going through things pretty quick today, just know that you have a backup that you can go back and watch that at any time. You can show it to a spouse, whatever you need to do to make sure you fully understand your options. Okay? All right, let's go. You know the next one. So this is the plan one that you guys have. This is your copay plan or your traditional plan design. No changes to this from last year, so it's going to remain. You have a $2,000 deductible for single, $4,000 for family. This is an embedded deductible, which means that you have two separate single deductibles embedded in that family deductible. So, and anything that applies to this deductible here is only going to be the big stuff, things like hospital stays, surgeries, and major diagnostics like CT scans and MRIs. For everything else, you have copays. That's why we call it a traditional or a copay plan, okay? There's 10% coinsurance on the big stuff, and the out-of-pocket maximum here is $4,000 for single, $8,000 for family. Any expense that you have, whether it's deductible, coinsurance, or copay, is all tracking together towards the out-of-pocket maximum. And it's important to note that that number is actually there for your protection, because before the Affordable Care Act came out, a lot of plans didn't have an out-of-pocket max. And what was happening is people were, so to speak, being co-paid to death because there was never really an end in sight with that. So most people won't even come close to it. I'm not saying that it's impossible to hit it. It certainly is possible to hit it, but it takes a pretty serious medical incident to get to that point. Any guesses on, so let me just say, for these, the federal government sets a maximum amount that an insurance or that a plan can have for the out-of-pocket maximums here. Any guesses on what that limit is for 2020 on a single plan? $8,100, and it's $16,200 for a family. Your plan is less than half of that, right? So you guys have very, very good coverage there. And, you know, again, your OSI doesn't want to shift any additional costs to you. They want to make sure that you guys are taken care of, okay? Preventive will continue to be covered at 100%. Teledoc will continue to be covered at 100%. Convenience care clinics will continue to be covered at 100%. However, one thing we need to point out here is that ThedaCare changed how they do their fast cares. They no longer charge under this convenience care model. So that the Theta Fast Cares in Meyer and in Darboy are not going to be free for you guys. If you go there, it would count as a primary care office visit, or on the high deductible plan, you'd pay the full cost, which would be about $120 to $150 plus any labs or anything else that they do, okay? So they kind of did this unbeknownst to everybody. It changed right after Labor Day, and it's what it is, okay? So you always know that you have the telemedicine option to use. Otherwise, again, generics are going to be staying covered at 100%. If you opt to take a brand name medication, that'll have a $25 copay. If you go to a non-preferred brand, though, then you have to satisfy your deductible first, and then you have the copay, okay? And then the specialty is going to be deductible on 20%. Okay. Any questions there?
How do you find a convenience care location?
I can tell you, there's not that many. So Oshkosh has one on the corner of 41 and 9th Avenue, inside Walgreens. In case you're looking for a Christmas tree, that's where I buy my Christmas tree every year. But the trees are amazing. But that's a good one to go to. And if you live on the north side, Green Bay has several. Both Bellin and Aurora have several fast care clinics in the Green Bay area. Nothing in Appleton. I know. So I'm with you. Any other questions?
So where do we find that list?
There's really not a list. I mean, it's tough to even search for a provider that would qualify as a convenience care clinic. That's why we'll notify you if there's anything else that pops up, but right now it's Oshkosh and Green Bay. Those are your only choices. We could put something up on the web for you. Okay.
Okay. Because what's Bellin and where is Green Bay? Bellin
and Aurora.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we can put a document in your portal library on our website.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So with the family deductibles, so one person has surgery, they only have, it's like $2,000. Yep, and then the other 200.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just say it's me and my spouse and we're on this plan, I would have a $2,000 deductible. He has a $2,000 deductible. Same thing, the out-of-pocket max is also embedded. Let's say we have 2 kids, just for the sake of easy math. Let's say that I hit my $2,000 deductible. Well, now the rest of my family, the other 3 of them, are tracking together towards the other $2,000 deductible. Or in a different scenario, each of us has $1,000 worth of deductible related expenses. Nobody had $2,000, but together we hit 4. So you can slice and dice it all different ways. Got it. Yeah. Good question. Any other questions? Okay, let's go to the next plan. So this is the high deductible plan. Again, you guys have the $500 HSA contribution, which we'll talk about later. Same deductible, but remember with this plan, it's a qualified high deductible health plan, which means that you're paying all of your medical expenses go towards the deductible. So it could be an office visit, it could be a prescription, it could be a surgery, it could be a diagnostic, whatever it might be, you pay 100% of the cost until you hit that deductible. Okay? People who are very low utilizers of healthcare or very high utilizers of healthcare tend to benefit from this plan. People in the middle, probably the traditional plan is a little bit better for you, but it just depends what the needs are for you and your family. But this is an aggregate deductible, so that means on a family plan, everybody's claims are tracking together. So if I have a bigger surgery, that's going to be more than $4,000. I alone can meet my entire family's deductible. So it's going to be different than the first plan. Okay. Same co-insurance on here. The out-of-pocket maximum is actually a little bit lower on this plan than it is on the other. And everything else here is pretty much the same as the traditional plan design, except you have to pay your deductible first. Then after you hit your deductible is when you have the co-pays on here. Okay? Make sense? Okay. Talk about that change. Which one? The generic. Oh, yeah, so here it'll be, everything has to go towards your deductible first, just like it does today. But after you've satisfied your deductible, generics are going to be covered at 100% on this plan. Okay? Okay, we're going to turn it over to Mishu. And if you can't remember her first name, it's okay. Just remember her last name. It's Reichelsdorfer, right? Thanks really much. So Mishu Reichelsdorfer, here you are, right?
On behalf of all of the team members at Prairie States, I just want to tell you how honored we are to be selected to serve you. We have a lot of experience with you and all of the providers that are part of all of your practices and the NOVO team. So when we found out that we were selected to serve you, we were very excited about that. So thank you and welcome to Prairie States. I'm going to give you just a little bit of background on who we are and why we're different. I don't know if any of you are working in the billing departments or in the pre-auth departments or anything, and hopefully you have had some positive experiences with us. But we're always open to taking feedback because providers are really the most important constituents in this whole circle that we work in. So Prairie States has actually been around for 30 years. We're a third-party administrator. Basically, we administer benefits for self-funded employers, such as OSI and all the practices that are a part of OSI. We're different in that we're founded by a nurse practitioner. So as part of our makeup, we include all of the health services within our walls. So 30% of our team are clinicians, registered nurses, registered dietitians, certified diabetes educators. The predominance of it are those nurses who have clinical experience. They've been in practices in hospitals and ERs and orthoneuro and all different settings. So that's really part of who we are and why we're a little bit different. Our approach is dedicated model. So what we do is we assign a team that's specific to OSI, because it's really important to us to understand all of you and what your leadership is trying to accomplish with the benefits program and all of the great features that you have available to you, such as utilizing the Novo bundled programs and the non-bundled programs, other high-value providers that may be out there, navigating your way through new diagnoses or new babies, all of those life events that you access your health plan for. We really try to wrap our arms around the outside of everything that you're going to be going through and provide you that advocacy and information in the easiest and most simple way that we can. Because of that, what we've done is we've put together a program called 5-Star. And 5-Star really is that go-to person. It's your person that's going to help you navigate your way through all of your service needs for all of your benefits in the health side, whether it's something that's within our walls or not. So if you have a prescription question, if you have a need for health services, or if you have a benefits question or you need a new ID card, no matter what it is, you're going to get 1-800 number on the ID card to call. And you're going to talk to Brenda, and if Brenda's on vacation, you're going to talk to Julie. And those two are going to understand your benefit program and all of the features that you have available to you and help you to navigate your way through the benefits that you have available to you. So a little bit of a different model in how we approach the delivery of health care. We're going to be administering your medical claims, your COBRA administration, all of your health management. So if you need pre-authorization assistance, if you have ongoing things like physical therapy, surgeries, those kinds of things, that's utilization management. If you happen to have you or a family member who have something bigger happen, a cancer, catastrophic illness, transplants, anything like that, we have nurse case managers that are going to take you and your family by the hand, walk you through all of the needs that you may have, even on going through and post-discharge if you have hospitalizations, et cetera. So it's really that nurse advocate role. And all of this falls underneath the confines of the service that we're going to provide to you. We're also doing your flexible spending, so you'll get your Benny card. I think you currently have a debit card that's attached to all of your Flex accounts. So you'll just get a different colored one, and it'll be from us. But the way that the program operates is really remaining the same. It's just going to be administered through us. So everything is going to be under one roof. Okay, next slide. Once again, talking about this continuum of care, and that's a word that you probably hear on the provider side too, that we want to make sure that no matter whether your needs are small and you're just accessing the benefit plan for preventive care, all the way up to those life-altering diagnoses that you may have, and all the phases in between, we've got programs and team members that are here to assist you access your benefit programs, understand your benefit programs, to make it as easy as possible to access all of the information that you need to accomplish what you want to as it relates to using your benefits programs. This slide just talks about a couple of the features of your program. 5-Star Health, once again, is that go-to person. So at this point, you're probably used to, on your ID card, you have a whole bunch of different phone numbers, whether it's a prescription question or if you have medical questions or provider questions, and you have to kind of know what your question really is before you try and make a call, and sometimes you call the wrong place because it isn't really a prescription question, it's a medical question. It's confusing, right? Sometimes you don't even know who to start with. Well, what 5-Star does is it says, it doesn't matter what you think the question might be. If it's related to your benefits, call us first, okay? So you're going to call your 5-Star number, and we're going to kind of help unravel what it is that you need, and get you either to the information that you might need from the prescription benefit manager or from your case manager. If it's something that Brenda can handle herself, she's going to take that on. She'll stay on the phone with you and call the prescription benefit manager. But she's really going to help walk you through and understand all the aspects of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So it's that go-to person. And then also one of the elements that you have available to you, in addition to the NOVO programs, which I think Paul is going to talk about shortly, we actually, if you call in and it's a service that would fall within the confines of the NOVO program, we're actually going to warm transfer you directly over to Terry, who is going to get you started and set up with what you need if you have one of those services that you need. So once again, you don't have to make that independent call. You can start with us, and we're going to get you to the right place. If it's something that isn't necessarily within the confines of the NOVO bundles, but we're still looking for that high-value provider, we're going to connect you directly with your friends at the Letheus, which is Consumer Navigation. They're going to help you find that good provider. And really, once again, it's about helping you take those first steps and understand how that works, so that the next time you feel much more comfortable and confident when you have that need, and you can actually say, hey, I think I remember how to do that. I'm going to call 5-Star, and they're going to set me on the right path. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay. ID cards. This is one of the nuts and bolts pieces of a transition. You currently have an ID card. I'm pretty sure it says Cypress on it right now. That ID card you're going to keep and use for services through the end of this year, through December 31st. You're going to be getting in the mail from us probably the third week of December. You're going to see an envelope that has the Prairie States logo on it. It's got the wheat chaff on it, and you'll see Prairie States. And in that packet is going to be your ID card. ID cards are really important because it identifies to the provider things like where claims go to, who they need to call, if they have questions or need benefits, those kinds of things. So it's really important that when you get that card, it also has your prescription benefit information on it. When you get that card, you share it with your providers if you have ongoing treatments or appointments, or you know that you're going to have services after the first of the year. Just making sure that you get that new ID card into the hands of those providers of service, into the hands of your pharmacy, so that when they run a prescription after the first of the year, it's going through the right path. Because sometimes the old card, if they haven't changed it, the prescription will bounce because that line has been terminated, and that can be frustrating. But once again, if you get to a pharmacy and you're like, my new card isn't working, all you have to do is pick up the phone while you're staying in the pharmacy and call us, and we'll help walk you through what we can do to fix that. So, any questions on ID cards? There's going to be go ahead.
Way we can get like the numbers ahead of time. I have something coming up at the beginning of January that they're going to need authorization for.
Sure, absolutely. We're actually, I'm going to share with you in a little bit the contact information, which we're going to put out on Summit. Okay. So you'll have all of the fax and phone and everything, and the phone number will be live so that you can call and ask questions. We're also going to, I don't know if you've already pre-authed it with Cypress, we're going to get hopefully a report from them of everybody who has been pre-authorized. And then we actually, when we get that list, we're going to reach out if the services are after the first of the year. So you probably would get a phone call from Prairie States. And we're just going to make sure that everything is still in order and that you're still planning on having that procedure. Okay. Yeah.
For medication as well?
Medication.
Humira, so we had to get that approved.
Is that all through Costco? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that, Costco isn't changing.
Oh, okay.
So that piece, that's a really good question. So if you have a prior authorization in place with Costco, none of that is changing. From the prescription perspective, you know, aside from making sure that they have the updated ID cards, the benefits are staying the same, your prior authorizations are staying the same. If you have mail order in place, you don't have to redo any of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah.
Can you get more than just 2 cards right away for adult children?
Very good question as well. We're going to send you 2 cards, and then all you have to do is just give us a call and say that you have a child who's out of area, and we'll get you another ID card. If you want to, you go ahead and let Tricia know ahead of time, and she can actually then email us in advance so that we can get the extra card out to you, okay? Yeah. You guys are awesome. Normally you do these and people are like, what? No, so awesome. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, this is just what the ID, there's our logo in case you're wondering what our logo looks like. That's what's going to be on your envelope. So card looks really similar. Most ID cards look pretty much the same. We tend to put just a little bit more information here in the pre-certification so that everybody kind of knows, you know, what is important to let us know about. So, okay.
So no more HPS?
HPS is still your network. Yeah. Yep. HPS is still your network.
Is that what we have next? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a change with this currently. So you're with right now HPS, but you have a wrap around it. Think of it as kind of a cushion. So if somebody isn't in network with HPS, you have what's called the Trilogy wrap. You kind of have all the Trilogy providers as well. The HPS and Trilogy relationship is no longer as of January 1st. So we had to make a decision of either saying we're just going to stick with HPS, or we would have had to go to a totally different network, which would be kind of a layered one as well. So that would be Alliance with the Trilogy wrap. So we opted to stay with HPS this year. They actually have most of the same providers and networks. The two that you see up here are going to be the two biggest that we have for disruption. So Forefront Dermatology is by far the biggest one from a disruption standpoint, but oral and maxillofacial will not be in network with HPS. We are confident that Forefront Dermatology will be in network as of January 1st with HPS, but to date, there has not been an agreement that is set. So we'll let you know as we have updates there, but that's where it stands today. But rest assured, there's plenty of other dermatologists in the area that are in network, so you do have other options if you need to.
Something that's important too is after the first of the year, if you have questions about HPS and you're not quite sure, is it a pre-states or an HPS question? Once again, because you don't necessarily know where to call, start with us. If we need to contact HPS, we'll help you with that. So we'll facilitate that conversation and get you connected with the right person. So once again, start with Prairie State.
So are you saying if you go to Forefront Dermatology, it's not going to be covered because of HPS?
It's not in network.
Right now,
yeah.
There is no, HPS currently does not have a contract in place with Forefront Dermatology.
But I've gone there and it's been not.
Because it's in Trilogy.
And right now you have HPS and Trilogy, so that's why.
So we can do it through December.
Absolutely.
And then hopefully HPS, who's working actively on a contract, gets that completed.
So can I ask why we have HPS? Because it seems like it's a middleman and then you never get any bills from that actual provider. I guess I never understood what HPS was. Maybe that's not a question to ask you.
No, that's a great question.
Yeah. HPS is a network. They're just a network that has a very different model in the way that they deliver. So HPS goes out and they contract with all the providers like you would expect a network to do, right? We talk about being in network and being out of network. So they set up all the contracts. And one of the features that they provide to the providers like you guys is that they actually will pay the entire amount of the discounted payment to the providers, including the employee portion. So think about if a provider didn't have to go and actually chase that $1,000 deductible. That's beneficial to the provider because they don't have to spend all that time with accounts receivable and trying to find ways to set up payment plans, those kinds of things. So then HPS really takes on that employee portion, which is why you get from them the Super EOB, right, which has all of the information on how your benefit was paid, and then also what you have to pay HPS, which is your patient portion. And so they actually have kind of stepped into the shoes of all the providers. And
so you're either paying the provider or you're paying HPS, but you're not able to pay your own bill.
Well,
I guess is the way
you're paying your own bill. It's just different who you're paying it to.
Yeah.
It's the same amount.
And HPS doesn't give you a very good breakdown of it. That's the other thing that I guess I don't like. You get a bill for whatever, and it doesn't break down what your labs were or anything.
Sure. Well, and you can, after the first of the year, you can actually go out onto the Prairie State's website, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and it'll break down for you what was office visits, what was labs, what was surgical. So you can take your HPS EOB and you can go out to our site and you can see your claim out there because you're going to get to see your claim, and you'll be able to see all of those elements. So that might help at least. And also because you're going with HPS, you know, on its own, unless you're completely out of network, you're not going to get two different kinds of EOBs anymore. You're not going to get, you know, one for HPS and one for Trilogy providers from a different place. You're going to get just the super EOB unless you're out of network. Okay.
So is Trilogy out of network then?
Trilogy will no longer be a network available after the 1st of the year. Yeah. Yep.
This may sound stupid, but.
No, not at all.
When someone asks me, what insurance do I have?
Mm-hmm.
What do I say?
Orthopedic sports.
Prairie.
You're saying like when you go, you're calling other doctors,
Yeah.
Trilogy and Prairie States, or do I say I have
Prairie.
HPS, or do I say?
You say you have Prairie States Enterprises, which administers the Orthopedic and Sports Institute benefits. It's a lot to say. You can say Prairie States.
Yeah, so Prairie States is your insurance carrier. If somebody is asking you who your provider network is, that would be HPS. Those are probably the two key things that you would want to know. But again, if you have questions before, you had a lot of these levers already built into your plan. It's just that you had one number to call for this, and one number to call for this, and one number to call for this, and it's a lot to manage, right, as the end user. So the idea, the biggest part that we have in moving to Prairie States is that it's going to make things a lot easier for you guys. You have one phone number to call for everything. I mean, any question that you have. And when she says, we'll worm transfer you, they'll stay on the line with you and make sure that you're getting the right answer and the resolution that you need. They're not just going to say, oh, yeah, no, we don't do that. You're going to have to call this place instead. They're going to really hold your hand all the way through that. Additionally, once we get to the website stuff, you'll see how easy it is to actually access all of your information in one point instead of going to like 7 different websites to get it all put together. So it should make things a lot easier for you guys.
How do we find out who's covered under HPS? Even like out of state?
HPS doesn't have anything out of state, but you have First Health out of state. So all you would do is you'd go to the Prairie on the Web, which is our web portal, and that's going to kind of be your one-stop shop. We like to single sign on to everything so that you don't have to go to First Health's website and HPS's website and Costco's website and, you know, everybody's website. You can go to the Prairie on the Web, log into your portal. You're going to see all of your claims info. I know we're kind of jumping ahead, Tricia, sorry.
Is Trish covering this later?
No, no, my slide is later. So, but through there, you're going to see, okay, if I'm out, and it'll say, I'm traveling out of the area and need to find a provider, and you'll see a logo for your travel rep. You click on that, and it will help you find the provider, or you can call Brenda.
But is the availability for people that have children going to
Yeah.
school out of state, there's a wide enough network that
Yeah.
you don't have to drive 100 miles?
No, First Health is very good. Something else that we do in particular, because we seem to have a lot of groups with kids that are off at college, we actually like to do a proactive student out of area plan. So if you call Brenda right after the first of the year and you talk to her, she actually will identify where's the closest ER for your child. Do they have universities, clinic services available to them? If they have like asthma or allergies or orthopedic needs or whatever it is, she'll help you identify the closest in-network providers. And we'll put this all together in a plan that we'll have out on the web portal so that you and your child can actually access it. Because when does this usually happen to a child? It's after, 8 o'clock on a Saturday after the pickup basketball game goes very badly and suddenly my knee doesn't work. And then you're like, well, how do I find anything? So we like to do that proactively so that your child, you know what to do, and you as a parent can feel like, okay, this is going to be okay. So very good questions. You guys are awesome. Yeah, because everybody else had that question. So, okay.
Okay, we're going to skip through the preventive stuff. A lot of this, you guys, is already on that document, or all those links that I referenced that is out on Summit. But just a couple quick things to remember is if you stay in network, we can control the cost better, right? Because there's HPS's negotiated discounts off of the charges. If you choose to see an out-of-network provider, we have no control over the cost of that. We're kind of at the mercy of whatever they charge. And so it goes towards the out-of-network deductible. If you notice on the plan, there was an in-network and an out-of-network deductible. If you're seeing both in and out-of-network providers, you have 2 separate deductibles and 2 separate out-of-pocket maximums to satisfy. So it gets really costly really quickly. Additionally, if you see out-of-network providers, they can also balance bill you, which doesn't happen when you're in network. So in addition to some of those deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums, you could see bills that would go above and beyond that. That basically insurance is saying we don't cover any of the stuff, and the providers aren't willing to work a deal, so they pass on the rest of that cost to you. Now, I'm not saying you should pay it without fighting it, but that can happen. So just try to stay in network. Using low-cost pharmacies and prescriptions is always ideal. So as you guys know, in the traditional plan, generics are covered at no cost whatsoever. And then there's where you fill your prescription makes a big difference too. And we just talked about this a couple months ago at the all-employee meeting, so I don't want to get into a ton of details on it, but just don't forget that. And avoid the emergency room for routine care. ER utilization is super high in general, and it's actually overutilized for a lot of acute care needs. And now sometimes I get it, it is what it is, and this is just how things happen sometimes, and you have to go in. But the #1 reason today for an ER visit is an ear infection, right? Which is crazy if you think about it. It's a very expensive way to find out that your kid has an ear infection. I mean, the bare bones cost to step foot into an emergency room is $500. The average cost is $1,700. So to find that out that way, you know, there's probably a less expensive way to do it. So just make sure that you're thinking through what your options are there. Okay. And then just simply stated, eat healthy and exercise. I know Leah's kind of taking some initiatives and working on wellness and some really cool stuff for you guys. So always feel free to reach out to her. And if you're looking to try to get some help just to get to healthier lifestyle habits too, you know, looking at dietitians and things like that, even chatting with the nurse at Prairie States can really help guide you in the right direction with some of those things. We're going to skip through all of this, so I want to give Misha more time to talk. And we already went through all of this at our last meeting, so you can skip that too. And we'll keep going. Okay, you're up again, Misha Reckelsdorfer.
So I did talk briefly about the web portal and the fact that we like to make, we have an IT guy who says that if it takes more than 3 clicks, you shouldn't be using it. Also, if it takes more than 7 seconds to load, you shouldn't be using it because nobody will use it. So we really kind of designed our web portal to be that one-stop landing page. Where no matter, you know, whether it's something that we administer or it's, you know, a partner like a network or the prescription benefit manager, you have access to it directly through Prairie on the web. When you get your ID card, you're going to be also getting a piece that tells you and walks you through how to log into the web portal and get registered. If you get, you know, there and you're like, nah, I don't know what to do, all you have to do is call Brenda. Brenda will actually walk you through. She can do something called mimicking, where she can see what you're seeing in the portal and kind of see where you're stuck and what's going on. So, you know, I encourage you to do that. You're going to be able to see all of your claims information, your electronic EOBs if you choose to have those delivered to you. You're going to be able to see your prescriptions, so all of the prescriptions that you have, how many refills you have left. It's kind of a handy tool if you're like, ooh, do I have a refill left? Well, you can go and check on Prairie on the web without going to the pharmacy and asking. So just a lot of information. If you have something that you've pre-certified and you're wondering where is it at, you can go out and look at those on your web portal so you can see if it's been approved or if there's further information that we're getting from the provider. It gives you that idea of status. There's a link to all of the networks that you have available and which one you would go to. So if you're in this area, it'll say, click here. If you're out of area, click here. If you're looking for your out of area student action plan, click here. So it's very, very easy to navigate. And we do it purposely that way because we want you to have, once again, the information that you need as quickly as you can. So I think you also have had in the past, and probably no one has even known that, access to the Alethea web-based tool. That we single sign on directly from the website. You'll see Health Cost Manager up on the toolbar. You don't need to re-log in with different credentials or anything. We'll immediately resolve you straight through to that website. So once again, it's like, I don't want to remember 12 different passwords for all these different places I need to go. So it's really all of that information. You get your temporary ID cards out there if you need them. We'll put forms that we're also going to put out on Summit, but you'll have access to those if you wanted to just refer to something, your plan documents. It's really going to be kind of that one-stop shop. So, right. Oh, this is your team. This information is also going to be out on your intranet on the summit. Once again, we like to identify this is really your go-to person. Brenda is your 5-star navigator. She also processes all of your claims. So those claims that she needs to touch, she actually manages them. Now, why is that different? Well, typically if you're calling an insurance company or another TPA, you're getting someone who does customer service, right? They don't process claims. They don't really do the benefits themselves. They're just there to answer questions and kind of move things along from an answering perspective. So they don't really have the power to do anything with a claim if there's a question or concern, or really help you to understand why the benefit plan paid the way that it did. Whereas Brenda, who does that and knows your plan intimately, can do those things for you. So she actually will then, if you need to have an ID card or if you have a distinct eligibility question that she can't answer, she'll actually warm transfer you over to Denise, who is your eligibility person. This is your nurse team. So we have Kathy, who is your case manager. She's that person who, if you have those higher level of needs or your family has that higher level of needs, she's that person that's really a good resource and that advocate to kind of help you navigate your way through what it is that we need to get you. Michelle is the person that you can call if you have a question about, do I need to pre-authorize this? Did my doctor pre-authorize this? Do I have questions about where my pre-authorization is at? You can also call Tammy. Tammy is another nurse that would be managing things like therapies and surgeries, those lower level needs. But if you're just going to start with Brenda, Brenda will get you to the right person, because sometimes what we recognized is that you don't even really know which level you might be at when you call in. So who do I talk to? Well, start with Brenda, and Brenda will get you to the right person. Peggy is actually going to be your flexible spending account analyst, so she's going to manage all those spending card questions and those kinds of things when Brenda can't handle those or needs additional information. And then Steve is our website guy. So if you have password reset information or you're just not, you're having a higher level issue with the website, Steve is the person that you're going to talk to. You're going to get a dedicated 800 number. This number, when it rings in to our offices, actually says OSI on it. So we know it's you, so that when Brenda picks up the phone, she knows specifically who she's talking to and what the benefits are and everything. So it's a different delivery model. Our business hours, actually, this is different for the 5-star. We have availability from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, you can, because we know that doesn't necessarily work for everything, and sometimes you need to talk to someone later in the evening or earlier in the morning. All you have to do is let us know, and we'll schedule an appointment, and we'll get in touch with you either before those hours or after those hours as we need to. Okay? All right. Oh, this is kind of a tough thing because you're transitioning. What we don't want to have happen is that you feel like you're getting stuck in the middle, right? So you're going to have claims that are going to get paid by Cypress through the end of the year. So if you go to the doctor on December 31st, Cypress is going to be paying that claim no matter when it comes, even if it comes to them after the first of the year, okay? So you're going to go through this period where you may be getting, HPS claims, EOBs that have Cypress claims on them and HPS claims that have Prairie States claims on them. You might not necessarily see that so much, but if you have a question about a claim and you're like, gosh, I just don't know who to call, even if it might have happened before the first of the year, you can call Brenda, and Brenda can at least try and figure out, who can we contact either through Sarah Beth at Cypress, how can we help to resolve that claim need? So, if you're comfortable calling Cypress on a claim, certainly call them. That's not a problem. But if you're like, gosh, I just don't really know, if this is a Cypress claim or not, just call us. That's important that we're not just going to say, hey, turn around and call Cypress. We're going to try and help you as much as we can. So, okay. Don't be afraid of that. All right. What else do you have? Wrong way. Oh.
All right.
There we go.
See, we go from Mishu to Paul. How much easier was that?
I know, right?
And very
Paul
easy to
Johnson.
remember.
Right.
I
Paul
know.
Johnson.
How simple is that?
Right, so Mishu Reichelsorfer.
Sorry.
That's all right. All right, I want you guys to think about 3 things today, right? 1, we're going to talk about being a consumer, right? Let's start passing these out here. 2, I want you to, if you don't mind pushing those out, that'd be great. 2, I want you to think about the app. And why is that? It's not because I have the 2 creators of the app in the room here today. It's because the app is going to help you in so many ways. So please, somebody in the room today, humor me and download that. It's for Android or Apple. It takes 60 seconds, and I would love to have somebody raise their hand and say, I did it, it's done, and it's that easy at the end of this. Look at there, already done. She did it in 5 seconds. And the third thing is really to think about how simple it is to access Noble Health. It's simply a phone call. You already have it in your plan. It's a simple phone call, and I'll share with you that number, and that number is also on the sheet that you have in front of you. So quickly, let's think about what it is to be a consumer, whether it is you're buying a loaf of bread, whether it is you're buying a gallon of gas or buying a vehicle, right? You need, I'm going to talk to the back of your head for the entire presentation. You need to be a consumer. So when's the last time you've been to a grocery store and didn't have a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk there? It's always there. They understand the importance of it. Affordability, right? You go down the road and you see a gas station on the left and one on the right, and there's a 4-cent difference. You race to the one that's 4 cents less, right? Quality. You remember Cadillac in the 70s and early 80s, they had all the quality issues. It took them 25 years to get through some of those quality issues. It's a great brand, but they had a lot of issues and they had to work through it. So you now, as a consumer, need to think about that from a healthcare standpoint. So in the next few minutes here, what I'm going to do is walk you through the accessibility of Noble Health, the affordability, and the quality metrics in which we adhere to. So bundle payments, it's not new. It's been around for quite a while, but what separates us from the marketplace is a 90-day limited warranty. Very excited about that. And inside of that, we include 90 days of physical therapy. So there's some twists and turns of that when you think about a shoulder, but at the end of the day, if we get into that space, we'll talk about it. But for now, think about 90 days, and that stuck in my head because I got Aaron standing right here next to me, and it just came out, and he's probably smiling inside. But 90 days, just boom, it popped out for me. Go ahead.
Can I just clarify that 90 days of?
Yeah, that's great. I got Kurt here with me, so that's very helpful.
Because I know patients will think this, if you say
Yeah.
that, they don't have 90 days of therapy. They have 90 days to have their therapy sessions that they
You got a 90, yeah, you've got 90 days. If you have some after that 90 days, you'll be billed outside of that, but you get 90 days within inside of the price of that bundle.
But
Yeah.
depending on what the therapist says you need, you don't get 90 days of therapy.
Right. Oh, I see where you're
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
You're talking 90 tick marks of days. No,
Right.
it's a 90-day window. It's imperative starting from beginning to end.
Okay.
So episode of care starts on the 1st. You've got 90 days from the 1st out in which to receive that care.
With the
This is going to
Novo,
be a great crowd.
with the
I'm only at
Novo-
bullet point 1. I love it.
with the Novo therapist.
With advanced physical therapy, correct.
Our
Or Connect Care, yes, thank you for Connect Care, which covers the state. I think it's 52 of 72 counties in the state. We have a Connect Care provider. So, is that all right? Did that answer where you're going?
Yeah, I had
No,
I had
that's fine.
a situation, I don't think it was fully explained that the patient was upset.
Okay,
Was upset that
that's great
under the
feedback.
impression that therapy was covered, and she was somewhere near Fond du Lac, I'm not sure exactly where she was, but she went to therapy somewhere, and they said, well, no.
Yeah.
And then it got unbundled.
And it's funny because we have an advanced physical therapy site in Fond du Lac.
Well, it wasn't
so-
Fond du Lac, but
Okay.
it's down that way.
All right. Well, good, but as you have issues like that, it's important to let us know, and I'll certainly let you guys, you can have my number. Those are the kind of things that we solve on Tuesday mornings from 9:30 to 11, and our leadership group is walking through those types of things, so I appreciate that. So, good there on the, okay. 90-day limited warranty, I touched on that a little bit in that bundled piece, but 90-day limited warranty, I just want to keep it as simple as I possibly can. I sound a little bit like a used car salesman, but that is not it at all. It is a wonderful perk. What I mean by a wonderful perk is that if you have an episode of care and it's done here, all we ask is that if you have an issue within that 90 days, that you come back here. We don't want you to go to another institution outside of here because we lose the window to that episode of care and what's being done. So all we ask is that you come back here. And if you come back here, it's included in that bundle. Does that feel good? Feel right? Makes sense? Sometimes I use a car analogy in this, but I think you guys are astute enough, right? Because we've worked in that space together. Keep that in mind. It's a 90-day limited warranty. Cash incentives when you use Novo. I like that from the standpoint, it's the incentive that you guys get. So if you had a total knee replacement, you'd get $200 or $2,000, excuse me, added to your payroll, right? So if you had a meniscus tear, I believe it's $500 you'd get added to your payroll. So there's a cash incentive to think about being a consumer in the marketplace with your health care. Make sense? We are not just limited to bundles. So what I want you guys to know is we have about 100 bundles out there right now. We are excited about 100 bundles, right? But we do more than just bundles, right? You have more than 50 procedures you're doing here at OSI. You have a lot more than 50. I got heads nodding already. So remember, be a consumer, price shop. If you have something outside of the bundles, call Terry. She'll make sure that you guys get hooked up to the right entity, the right provider, and then you can ask that financial question, right? Because I know from a standpoint, from accessibility, we'll get you in. I know from a pricing standpoint, we'll be competitive. We will not always be the lowest, but that's not the intent of our model. And I know that the quality, I'm very confident the quality will be the best that you can get in the Midwest, right? Kurt has done a great job. Kurt and Sandy Rashawn have done a great job in bringing on providers and holding them to a standard of 0.5%, right? Infection rate that is less than 0.5%. The marketplace is dictating right now in Wisconsin 1.8. So in that model right there, we're 3 times better. Wisconsin is #1 in the country in terms of infection rates. So just think about what Kurt and team and Sandy have done to kind of separate ourselves from the pack. I think it's exciting. It's fun to talk about. So what's new? We talked a little bit about the app. Heart and Vascular is coming on 1/1. Geography, I love this piece of it. Aspen is coming on 1/1 in Milwaukee. Caldus. Remy Caldus is a fantastic individual. I've sat with him a couple of different times. He's one of those gentlemen that can really capture the conversation. He's in women's health care. So he just doesn't do endometriosis and hysterectomies. He does a plethora of things, but we have 2 bundles in those spaces. And he is quite an individual. Really nice to have him a part of our team.
I see a lot of like head nodding with that. Like if you've had it, which I have not had, but I've had a couple friends that have had hysterectomies. I mean, he's the guy who's like,
yes.
yes, okay, well, let's talk about this and make sure.
Yes.
I mean, like he's that guy. Like he's
To that point, he's very intimate when he talks to you. I mean, he leans into you, he holds your hand, and he looks you in the eye, almost makes you a little uncomfortable at first, and then you're like, oh, I kind of like him. He's a great guy. So, but all of our doctors are. So I want that to be a message too. It's just Remy is commands your attention. Bone and Joint, we just signed those guys on 10/1. Very excited to have them. They are in Wausau, so they are going to help us as you go west with the western side of the state, and as we move further out into St. Paul, Minneapolis. I guess we're moving on to the next one. Thank you very much down there. Real quick, this is something that we share with the marketplace, and what I like to do is call out the total knee replacement. It gives you guys an idea of what we're doing out there in the market. So the average cost on this side of the state to replace a knee is about $41,000, and that has dropped about $10,000 in the last couple of years. And it's due to competition, and it's really due to what we're doing here at OSI, right? So that's a great thing. The bundle cost that we charge the marketplace is $27,500. And remember, that includes everything that we've talked about, the 90-day limited warranty. It also includes that PT, and not 90 days, individual days, but a 90-day window to that. The employer then pays the associate, you guys, $2,000 to have that knee replacement. So none of us really want to have a knee replacement, but it creates that space in your mind to start thinking about, you know what, where would I go? Now, I know you guys, from a musculoskeletal standpoint, would obviously go here. But think about those other spaces, right? Think about Northeast Wisconsin foot and ankle, and think about narrow spine and some of the other things that we've talked about here today. That's kind of that press to make you think differently and think outside the box. And at the end of the day, there's a $12,000, $11,000 savings to OSI. That's a great thing, right? Because we still have to buy paper, we still have to pay for the lights, we still have to heat the building. So when you can save that kind of money and do those kind of things, it's good for the organization as a whole. Make sense? So it's a nice win all the way around. Oh, you keep me moving. Thank you.
Mhm.
You're good. 20 or 48-hour access for initial consultations, and that's for all of the services that we've talked about. Preferential booking for medical surgery. I'd like to talk about this because we have a lot of people coming in here with medical tourism. I get excited about that because you get people coming in from Oklahoma and California, and you get people coming in from Alaska, and what it tells you guys is that you have the preference. You have the preferential treatment in terms of when you want to have your surgery, you get that space. They've got to work around, right? Because you're part of the portfolio, you're part of the family. I think that's positive. When you call that number on the bottom there, the red number, the 833-361-6686, you get Terry Jones. Most of you know Terry. If you don't, she is angelic. She is a wonderful teammate. She's a good friend. And she then takes your call, and what she does is she helps you find a doctor, book your appointment. She helps transfer medical records. Does she do all this all the time? No. She works with you guys in the room here. She also works with the other entities that I've talked about, the different providers. And it's a one-point phone call, right? And it just makes it easier. Now, let's go back to the app before we forget the app. On the app, you can make a singular phone call from the app. You can ask a question from the app. You can go to our website from the app. These are important things as you go forward. So who in here has downloaded it in the last 10 minutes? About 10 minutes went quick. See, you did. And it was easy, right? I'm just excited to get people in this space. It's a great thing. It's again, the two people that created it are in the room. I bet you can guess who they are, right? Sean, right? Kurt? Yeah, there we go. So that's what I got. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to zip through the rest of these pretty quick because I want you to get out of here on time. But again, remember that you have access to view a more detailed video on all of this information. But if you are on the high deductible health plan, you also have the ability to participate in an HSA. If you do this, OSI will put $500 a year in there. It's prorated throughout the year. But this really is a great way to put money aside on a pre-tax basis to help cover your medical expenses. These are going to be, the next one. The limits for 2020 are $3,550 for a single and $7,100 for a family. If you're over the age of 55, you can put an additional $1,000 a year aside. It is your responsibility as a member to make sure that between your and your employer's contribution, you don't go over this, or you will get caught at tax time, okay? It's impossible not to. So make sure that you stay within those limitations. Okay. Flexible spending account, very similar concept. You can take money out of your check on a pre-tax basis and put it aside to cover your medical bills. However, with an HSA, that money is in a bank account. You own it. It goes with you wherever you are, and it rolls over from year to year to year to year until you spend it down. An FSA is an annual election. It is a use it or lose it account. So if you don't use the money you put aside, you lose it. If you are on the traditional or the copay plan, you can do the full medical FSA. Okay, so in theory, it's kind of like an HSA, except it's capped for the year, right? The limit is $2,750 for 2020. It does have the cash flow advantage. So let's just say that you have a medical procedure in January. We'll pick on you since you brought one up. Say you're on plan 1 and you have a procedure in January, and you want to put $1,000 to cover your medical into your FSA. You have access to that full $1,000 right away in January, even though it's going to keep coming out of your check throughout the rest of the year. Okay. You can roll over up to $500 a year, but that's it. So if you have more than that left over, you're out of luck. Please make sure that you know about the runout. Any claims that are incurred in 2019, right, so all the way through December 31st, you have until March 31st of 2020 to get those claims submitted so you can get your reimbursement. That will still be done through Cypress. Any claims that happen after January 1st will go through Prairie State. Okay. If you are on the high deductible health plan, you also can do the limited FSA. Most people don't have a need for this. If you have 3 kids who inherited your really messed up teeth, then you're probably going to use this at some point. It's a great way to put extra money aside to cover things like dental and vision related expenses. All 3 of my kids are going to need plenty of orthodontic treatment. I have a high deductible health plan, so I use what's in my HSA, but there will certainly be years where I need to put a little bit extra into here too. Okay. Outside of that, you're probably not going to have a need for it. All right. Dependent daycare. Anybody have kids in daycare? Show of hands. Okay, let's talk about this quick then. This is an absolute no-brainer to utilize, guys. This again allows you to put money aside on a pre-tax basis to help cover your daycare or after-school care related expenses. For simple math and for the sake of time, let's assume you're in a 20% tax bracket and you want to max this out. You want to put aside $5,000 a year to help pay for your daycare. If you do the math on it throughout the year, Your check will go down by $4,000, but you will have $5,000 of care to use. So you will have saved $1,000 a year just by funneling it through here. Now, this does not have that cash flow advantage that lets you have access to the full $5,000 in January. You can only pull out what you've put in. But once you get that first claim down, it's a really easy process. You don't have to file it every time that you pay your provider. You don't have to do it once a month if you don't. You can do it once a year if you want to. I don't really care when you do it, but you're saving money. So it's an absolute no-brainer to do. It's a great thing to take advantage of. All right, we are not going to go through dental nor vision, but again, those videos are out there for you to review. There are no changes to either one of them in the plan design nor on the rate, okay? Life insurance. OSI gives you guys a very generous life insurance benefit. It's $50,000 of coverage. So everybody is automatically enrolled in this. Don't forget that if you have a life event throughout the year, please make sure you talk to Human Resources and change your beneficiary. Do not wait until open enrollment for that. Voluntary life insurance. Any new employees, like not benefit eligible yet? Okay, so there is a guarantee issue offer on here. If you are a new employee coming onto the plan, or when you signed up last year, you got to take advantage of the guarantee issue offer. That is only available when we initially rolled it out and as a new hire coming on the plan. That means that you can get the guarantee issue amount. So as an employee, you can select up to $130,000 of life insurance benefits, no questions asked. Okay. If you wait until next year, you just have to go through evidence of insurability. They may or may not pick you up. It just depends. If you elected anything last year, at least the minimum of $10,000, that means that at each open enrollment, so now, you can add an additional $10,000 of coverage, no questions asked, until you would hit this limit of $130,000. Otherwise, if you have a life event, you get married, have a baby, whatever it might be, just so you know, as long as you opted into at least that $10,000 when it was first rolled out, you can buy up to that guarantee issue amount, no questions asked, with a life event, okay? If you do decide to go above and beyond the guarantee issue amount, or you want more than the amounts that I talked about getting the guarantee issue, you just have to go through the evidence of insurability, and you can see Tricia to get those forms. Voluntary life or short-term disability. So this is it helps with income replacement. It will replace 60% of your wages with a max of $1,000 a week if the doctor says you are sick or got hurt off the job and cannot come to work. Kicks in on the first day if you're off of work due to an accident, and 8th day if you're off of work due to an illness. We have a nice pregnant belly right here. So it's important to note that a pregnancy is always considered an illness. Even if you didn't mean to get pregnant and it was an accident, it's still going to be treated as an illness and kicks in on the 8th day. So we'll pay out for up to 13 weeks of being off of work, as long as the doctor says you need to. And then if you're off of work longer than 13 weeks, it would kick into the employer-paid long-term disability. So once again, 60% of your wages. This will cover you, though, all the way up until Social Security normal retirement age, which is a fancy way of saying whatever age the government sets your retirement at. Once you would qualify for Social Security disability, they'll offset a little bit against each other, but it will help make you more whole than relying on Social Security alone. Okay, so it's a really, really great benefit. Employee Assistance Program. We are at one of the toughest times of the year, not just for you guys here at work. It's a very stressful time of year for everybody. So I really want to highlight this and make sure that you guys remember that you have this. This is a way for you and any of your family members, and this is available to all employees, you don't have to be on the health insurance, but to receive short-term counseling for whatever it is you might need. Okay? These are just some of the reasons. This is nowhere near an all-inclusive list. Really, the sky is the limit. Here's the reality. When we feel sick, like we're getting strep throat, what do? We go to the doctor. If we are struggling with an issue at home, whether it's with a spouse or a child, or we have a child who's having a hard time at school, or we're going through a death in the family, or we're struggling with anxiety or stress or depression or whatever it might be, too many times we try to deal with it on our own. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing to start, but if it doesn't get better, a lot of times we just deal with it and we don't actually go in and get the help that we need. And that isn't okay. All right? We have to make sure that we check in with ourselves from time to time. And you have to realize, you guys, nobody has it all together. I don't care how happy or sad somebody seems at work every day. I don't care how great or negative their social media posts are on the given day, week, or whatever it might be. The reality is we all have stuff, and nobody is perfect, okay? There are always going to be times in our life that we can use a resource like this. Please don't be afraid to call and take advantage of it, all right? It's completely confidential. It's totally free. All right, all you have to do is call the 1-800 number on here, and they will either place you with a counselor locally that you can go see and talk to, or you can use a telephonic option as well. So, like with kids especially, access to care is a huge problem in the Fox Valley. It oftentimes takes 6 to 12 weeks for a kid to get in to see a counselor, which is not okay. They have an option that you can actually FaceTime with a counselor, and you get to choose. You can see their profiles and their pictures online, and you work with that same counselor all the way through. It's just that you're FaceTiming with them from the comfort of your home office or whatever makes sense for you. But again, this is here. It's free and confidential, and each person in your family gets 7 sessions with a counselor for each issue. So it's a very, very comprehensive benefit. If you need to convert over into long-term counseling, they will help you find a provider who's going to be in your network that they can make sure you see, so you can continue getting the care that you need. But then that would track towards your health insurance plan. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It says that anyone living in your home, so I carry my daughter, which is 22, married with 2 children, and I carry her on my insurance. Can she utilize that?
Mm-hmm. She
Okay.
is on your insurance. Well, yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay.
They're pretty. They just want to help you. So
I just thought
yeah.
living in
they're not.
their
They
home.
don't really check a lot. So yeah,
Okay.
you'll be all right.
That includes like college kids can use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody in your family. Okay.
Okay, so for open enrollment this year, I'm sorry, if I stand up, I probably fall over because I'm asleep. For open enrollment this year, it is going to be done through Paycom. It is going to be open tomorrow. I will upload some screenshots to Summit for people to go ahead and enter their information or keep it updated. Just as an FYI, there was a minor glitch in the system with transferring dependent Social Security numbers over. So if you have any dependents on the plan, if you wanted to grab those Social Security cards beforehand, so you're not going through this whole process and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a Social Security number. So if you just want to do that. And then open enrollment is going to go through December 1st through Paycom. So on the top right-hand part of your screen, you should see the bell, and there's going to be like a number 1 or number 2 on there, and you'll be able to enter that information through there. And then also through Paycom, it'll show you what your premiums are going to be, so you'll have an idea for that. So all those rates will be updated. If there's any questions, please feel free to let me know. So knock on wood, hopefully it will be glitch-free since it's our first year.
Any other questions you guys have? Just know that if you guys have questions or things that you're always like, I just never really know how to do X, Y, Z, whatever it might be, talk to Tricia. How we presented to you guys about doing the prescription a couple months ago, we're going to be doing more presentations like that throughout the year. And actually next month we have a strategy meeting to build out. What are we going to talk to you guys about? What can we teach you? What are the tips and tricks that we can empower you to know that will make it will help you to be a better consumer in this, the medical landscape that we have today. So any questions you have, let us know, and we'll make sure that we can do our best to address those throughout the year as well. Okay? Thanks, everybody. We'll stick around if you have any personal questions. Is the formulary online also, the drug formulary? Yes, actually, we'll be able to click on the link.
I'm like, please, I have somebody to help me, like my pet.